All right, welcome to the NetSuite Sandbox Training Guide Session 2. Here we're going to be discussing and reviewing product manufacturing and some NetSuite reporting. Product manufacturing is the process of moving your components out of stock and into stock of your sellable units. This is going to be used to create your bulk blends as you've done previously, but it's also now going to be included in processing manufacturing for finished goods, such as your small and large baggies, grinders, bottles, shakers, tins, and other items. Okay. Note there are some system dependencies where if you're trying to build a product, it may be reliant on product being built out first. For instance, if you are trying to build out a sampler or recipe bundle, those are processed using finished goods like baggies, small baggies, etc. So you'll may need to ensure that those small baggies get processed in the manufacturing phase prior to putting together any bundles, so the stock is there when you complete that process. Okay. The product manufacturing process. There are two processes used in this system to complete these tasks. One is the assembly build process, and the other is the work order process. The difference between the two, the assembly build process requires less steps and is better suited for smaller staff locations or maybe owners that are always on site, where the work order process allows for planning workloads for a specific time period for your staff or even yourself, and then finalizing the bills later to move the stock out of the component level and into the sellable unit at a later time. For the assembly build process, we're going to begin here. In previous, you would keep a production log or a blend log on site, tracking any blends that were built. Now you want to take that blend log and maybe make it a production log, and we do have samples available where you're going to enter any items that are created, whether they're grinders, samplers that you've built out, etc., as well as your bulk blended items should get listed. Now, just a note, if your bulk blended items are listed in ounces, you'll want to divide by 16 before entering in system to get the pound weight. All other items like samplers, recipe bundles, baggies, shakers, grinders will all be tracked in eaches. Utilizing the production log, again, you're going to track in NetSuite in portions of pounds. So you'll want to make sure again to divide by 16. And we leave a little reminder at the bottom here for you. So now we want to transfer that data into an assembly build form. To access the assembly build form, you're going to navigate to transactions, manufacturing, build assemblies, and this will start a new assembly build record. In the primary information box, same as you had in the previous lesson, and in most documents, you're going to have this area where you have to address your location information first. But additionally, you're going to enter the product that you're building. So if you're building a bulk, if you've blended a bulk blend, you're going to enter that. And then you're going to enter the weight or count into the quantity to build box. And again, if it's a bulk item that you've weighed in ounces, you're going to want to enter that in pounds. Everything else would get entered in as eaches. In this example, we added Florida Sunshine bulk. And we've added a weight to the quantity count box. Once you add your item to the item box up in the top left-hand corner, it's going to supply you with the components that are going to be pulled from stock once you complete this record. There may be some inventory adjustment boxes that you have to apply the inventory adjustment count and selecting the previous lot number to pull that inventory stock from. You should receive green check marks across all these items here. If you're doing bulk items, you will also have an inventory detail box up at the top to fulfill for that bulk item. For things like samplers and your baggies, your bottles, you will not have to do it for the top inventory detail box. Once you click Save at the top, that's completing this record, and it'll pull the items out of stock for those components and into the bulk unit. And that completes that step. Each assembly build can only do one item. So here we've moved on, and now we've added bulk Florida Sunshine to our system, and now we can add the grinders that we built that day as well. So let's take a look at how that looks on screen. Again, all item inventory transactions are going to be handled under the transaction menu. Whenever you're building, that's going to be done under the manufacturing menu header or menu listing. So from here, we're going to select Build Assemblies. And again, you want to make sure that your location information is input. And then you can begin typing your item that you blended. Florida Sunshine Spice Blend FO Bulk. And again, if you weighed, let's say you did a double batch, it came to 32 ounces, you're just going to enter 2 because 32 divided by 16 is 2 pounds, giving you your pound weight for entry. Down below, it'll update any items quantities for the items that are going to be pulled out from the component list. This is a good time to double check your quantity on hand. As you can see here, this location has 0 of some of these items. To correct these zeros, you'll want to go back and start an inventory adjustment, as we did in the previous class, and update this quantity on hand for these items before processing this document. Once you have those items selected or updated, you'll want to make sure to complete the inventory box for each of those. And as you can see, there isn't any information for this item because it has 0. So once you've updated your quantity on hand for any of the zeros, and you come back and start this document, you'll be able to continue on with completing this action. So I'm going to go ahead and update the inventory quantities, and I should be able to process this document as intended. Okay, now you have all green check marks. The last thing we need to do is satisfy the requirement for the inventory detail box for the bulk item we're creating. We're going to copy and paste the quantity, and we can just use INV for the serial lot number. And now you can see the document is ready to be completed. Up at the top left, you can click Save and New if you have a new item to go into. And that will save this document, move all your components out of stock and into the finished bulk goods stock, and start a new assembly build page so you can move on down your list of items on your production log. Now you've entered bulk items into system. and you have some inventory to work with. Next, we want to build baggies or maybe grinders or gift sets. So in order to do so, in this example, we're going to do 10 Florida Sunshine grinders. Again, once you start a new assembly build, you'll have to complete any location information and then add your item that you're going to be completing. So here it's going to be Florida Sunshine grinders. And then an inventory count of how many you're building in the quantity to build. So here we're going to insert 10. Down the bottom, you want to verify that the stock that's going to be pulled out is accurate. The quantity on hand, that you have enough. So if you have any zeros or the counts are off, you want to go and rectify those again before coming back and doing this process. When you're building out things like grinders, you may have an inventory detail for the product going in for the bulk item. So you want to make sure to get your green check mark. So let's take a look at accessing the assembly build and inputting 10 Florida Sunshine grinders. So again, if you've hit save and new, it'll bring you to a new assembly build document. However, if you're just starting out, you will want to move to transactions, manufacturing, and build assemblies again. You're going to make sure your location information is input. Type in your item. And here we're going to select the Florida Sunshine Spice Blend Grinder. Once that's in, the recipe information will auto-populate. Your component list will auto-populate. As you can see here, my quantity to build is, quantity to use is 0 because I don't have anything in the quantity to build yet. Here I'm going to enter 10, and that'll update my quantities. So once you have verified your quantity to be taken out, after adding your quantity to build, and verifying that you have enough quantity on stock, you'll want to satisfy the inventory detail for the bulk item. So you're going to copy and paste the amount being used. So at times you may receive an error where you have only two available in that lot number. Maybe you have a previous lot number that is holding inventory. So a little math will need to be done here. So you're going to enter the full quantity for the first inventory amount, which is just 2, and may have to add a secondary one if you're not keeping track of your lot numbers under INV. So here you would just enter the remaining amount and then hit OK. Now you can click Save and New to complete the process, and that'll move all of these components out of stock and create 10 Florida Sunshine grinders. Next, we're going to review production orders. In the previous instructions, we brought in on an invoice a box of 25 Tuscany 1-ounce bags. Now, these are not sellable units. The 1-ounce bags are, and we need to break that box down from one production box into 25 baggies. So again, you're going to start a new assembly build. You're going to update your location information. You're going to select the Tuscany 1-ounce bags. And then in the recipe box just below it that auto-populates is one of the only times you'll ever really need to adjust this box, but you're going to change it from the 1-ounce FO bomb, which would indicate that you were creating 1-ounce bags from your bulk items and bagging these items on premises, where the Tuscany 1-ounce small bag FO bomb is going to retrieve the data based off that one box and break it into 25 bags. So you'll want to make sure to adjust that recipe before continuing on. Once you've adjusted and changed the length BOM to the small bag FO BOM, you want to make sure that you enter a quantity of 25 in the quantity to build. So once you save the document, it's going to remove 1 box and 25 labels and create your 25 1-ounce Tuscany bags in stock that you can now put on the floor and sell. Again, for this, the box that you brought in was lot tracked, so you'll want to enter that lot track information in the inventory detail before saving. So let's take a look at that process. Again, if you've clicked Save and New, it'll bring you into a new document. Otherwise, if you're starting from somewhere else in the NetSuite, you'll again want to go to Manufacturing and then Build Assemblies. So from here again, your location information needs to be adjusted. And then you're going to enter the item that you're going to be breaking down. So in this case, I'm going to select Tuscany, and I'm going to not select the 125 piece box. I'm actually going to select the baggie. That'll pre-populate the information here. And then as I drop down the list, I'll see the small bag FO BOM. I'm going to select that, and as you can see, once I do, the component information changes from the 3 components that it needs to create baggies, and it changes to the 1 small bag box and 25 labels. However, the quantity is at 0 because I don't have a quantity to build yet. And again, you want to enter 25 because that's how many bags come in a box. If you're breaking down multiple boxes, maybe you have 2 or 3, you'll just double this amount or triple this amount, putting the end quantity of how many baggies were in those boxes, and that'll update these quantities here as well. So as you can see, I have 3 boxes actually with 75 baggies available. So if I wanted to, I could put 75, break open all 3 boxes to put on the floor, depleting all my box inventory. For this instance, we're just going to leave it at 25 and break open 1 box. And I'm going to select my inventory detail, enter my 1 in the quantity for that 1 box, and select the lot number assigned to it, and then click Save. This will now remove this box and those 25 labels from stock and input the 25 1-ounce baggies into stock for the Tuscany. An additional process that's going to be utilized now with some changes we made to how the T-bar is built out in system is the T-bar cups all now pull from T-bar bulk. So what does this mean? This means we'll have to remove T-bar bulk inventory from our bulk T's and into our T-tin bulk for the T-bar. Most T-bar tins hold around 4 ounces. So at most, maybe the total weight that you add to it will be in pounds 0.25, which is 4 ounces or a quarter pound. And again, anytime you're dealing with bulk numbers in pound weights, it's going to be portions of pounds. So if you're weighing in ounces, you want to make sure to divide by 16. So you're going to repeat all the previous steps to create the assembly record. You're going to ensure that you add your subsidiary and location information. In the assembly box, you're going to enter the T-bar bulk tin item. It'll say T-bar bulk in cap letters at the end. And then the weight of the product that you're filling in that tin. Now, if this is just a small adjustment, maybe you have half a tin and you're just filling it up with a little bit more, you'll want to make sure to weigh that out, whatever you're adding to, divide by 16 if you weighed it in ounces and enter that adjustment weight. In this example, we've added 4 ounces of Mango Tango tea to the FO bulk or from the FO bulk into the FO T-bar tin for use later at the T-bar, and any Mango Tango cups that are sold will pull from that bulk inventory. There's a small quick help chart of pounds or ounces to pounds if you need. But again, you'll probably want to weigh and get your measurements and divide by 16 just for better accuracy. T-bar bulk will have inventory detail requirements as it's a bulk item, which means it's lot tracked. However, the T-bar tins are not. You will not have to update the inventory detail box on the top portion. Once you save, it'll move the T bulk out of inventory and into the inventory for the T bar. And now you're ready to sell your T items. T cups do not need to be built out. Those are what we consider kit items, which means when you process those sales at the register, at that time is when it'll deplete the inventory for the cups, the lids, and the T bar items in bulk. So let's review that process. Again, we're going to start a new assembly build. We're going to enter our location information. Going to add Mango Tango. And I'm going to select the T-bar bulk entry. It'll fill in the recipe information. And let's say I'm filling an empty tin, so I'm going to put it at a full 4 ounces or 0.25 pounds. And it'll update that information at the bottom for that component. I'll update the inventory detail, selecting the quantity, the lot number, and hitting OK. And then from there, I can click Save and process this transaction. So that was the process of using assembly orders. You're going to use your production log and enter those items into an individual assembly build form. Next is the work order process. The work order process, unlike the assembly process, is a two-step process, and it begins with creating a work order. Like assembly builds, work orders can only handle one item, so you may create many work orders for your staff to complete. This is generally used to plan out your workload. So as you complete your work order, you'll receive BOM worksheets that can be printed off and handed out to your staff for completion, but does not actually adjust any inventory. Once that work is completed, you've entered your work orders, you've handed the sheets to the staff, they've completed the builds, they've turned those signed off and turned those sheets back in. The next step would be to come back and build out your work order and finalize the inventory. This is the action that will actually process your inventory from the component level into your finished goods. And just again, as a note, each product that is going to be built requires a separate work order. So if I wanted to build 10 Florida Sunshine grinders, 32 ounces of 4 peppercorn bulk entered in pounds, so it would be 2. And then 6 samplers. Each of these would be a separate work order created, and then a build process to finalize it later. So building assemblies, creating work orders, and printing the BOM sheets. Under transactions, manufacturing, and enter work orders, you're going to be presented with your work order form, which again will have primary information to be completed at the top for your location, and a memo field as well to the right. For instance, if I want my staff to build 2 pounds of 4 peppercorn spice blend to create bulk for stock, I can create a work order, add the 4 peppercorns FO bulk to the top recipe box, and you'll see that the ingredients get populated with the quantities that are going to be pulled out. Once you're done, you're going to click Save and Print BOM, which will print off the worksheet for your staff. So let's take a look at creating this entry. Under Transactions, Manufacturing, you're going to find 2 work order listings. We're going to always beginning with enter work orders, and then later on we'll come back and build those out to actually move the stock. So I'm going to start by entering the work order. And again, 1 work order per item. I'm going to enter my location information. And then under work order information, I'm going to enter the item that I'm working with. So 4 peppercorn into the recipe box. And I'm going to select my FO bulk. Okay. In that practice, we indicated that we wanted 2 pounds. Here it'll show you your on hand and what it's going to require to build that out. Okay. There's no inventory detail boxes yet to fill out as you're just prepping work. This is more informational for your staff, at which case you'll save and print BOM. And it's asking me to enter a value for location. So any errors that you receive will appear up at the top here. So I'm just going to go back and reapply my location. It must have popped off. And now I can go ahead and save that work order. If you receive a pop-up block message, you can click up on here and you can click always allow redirects from this location. And we'll just refresh the screen by hitting F5, and now it should download your file. Okay. Again, normally, once that BOM sheet downloads, you'll see it in the top right-hand corner of your browser, as you saw a moment ago, and it'll download a PDF document. That PDF document is a build of materials document, which is just basically your recipe for that item. It'll have a work order number associated with it. The system will auto apply the work order numbers. And then it comes with a listing of the item that you want your staff to build, and then the quantities that are going to be pulled out for that item. Again, each work order will only have 1 set of products in the quantities that you want them to build. An additional note, work orders do not currently provide information like grind information or additional steps to building. Is just basically the item and the components that are used. So for additional information, please refer to your recipe guides. And again, multiple work orders may be needed. So for instance, I need them to create my 2-pound bolt, but I also may need them to fill some grinders later. So I'd create a separate work order for those and printing off a separate worksheet. Once you download the sheet, you can print these off and hand it into your staff. Once they've completed their work, they're going to come sign off or turn these back in. That way you know that that work's been completed. At which point you can then move on to finalizing your work orders. To do that, to finalize your work orders and actually move the component stock out of inventory and into the stock for the sellable item, you're going to go back to inventory, manufacturing, and this time you're going to click on build work orders. Once you enter the new build work order screen, you're going to see any work orders that you created listed below, at which point you'll want to click the build button or link, which will bring you into an assembly build sheet. So it kind of transfers you from one process to the next to finalize the build. So from here, you're going to want to make sure your information is accurate up at the top. You're going to satisfy any inventory requirements or inventory detail boxes here, and also up here as needed in the top for the item being created. For this one, it's bulk, so you will need an inventory detail box up at the top. And then once you click save, that'll finalize this build and move the component stock into the bulk stock. So let's review. So we've created the work order. We have it saved in system. Now we want to go to the manufacturing build work orders page. And you can see that the work order that I created is now listed here in stock. And assuming that the staff completed their work and handed it in, I'm going to go ahead and click the build button or link. And I'm going to finalize the process by selecting my inventory detail. You'll do this for each of the components listed that require it. You'll also want to satisfy for bulk items that you're creating the inventory detail up at the top and supply it with a lot number. And again, you can just use INV for inventory. And from here, you can save or click Save and New to enter a new document, and that'll finalize that build. Once that assembly build is completed, you can continue on to finish the workload for any other items that you have. And the rest of the process is very similar to the assembly build process for finalizing the builds on the rest of the items in your list, whether they be bulk items, grinders, shakers, etc. Next, we're going to take a look at the unbuild assemblies process. The unbuild assemblies process is available to you and will allow you to break certain items up so you can reuse their components in another method. So for instance, I want to break down a 4-ounce bag because maybe I am short on bulk product and I need to create 4 1-ounce bags. You can break that 4-ounce bag down and then do an assembly build to create 4 1-ounce bags. Now, breaking out components like bags will place everything from the bag and the label and the product all back into stock. And obviously the bag and the label will get tossed. So you may need to do an additional write-off later on to address any of those waste components. Another example is you can break down a sampler pack. Sampler packs, when you do those builds, are pulling from the components. So when you break it down, it's going to put those baggies or any other component items back into stock. And I mean completed baggies, such as a 1-ounce Tuscany, will now retrieve stock if it was a part of that build. We're breaking down a bag, we'll break it down into the component, the bag, and the label that was used to create it. This will just break down the component. So if it's a square tin, it'll put that square tin item back into stock if it's a T. And then those units can then be sold individually. So let's take a look at how to unbuild your transactions. So under transactions, manufacturing, you'll find unbuild assemblies. Again, you want to enter your location information. And in this example, we're going to add to the assembly box Mango Tango 4-ounce bags. In here, let's say I want to unbuild 2 bags, 2 4-ounce bags, leave me with 8 ounces of Mango Tango tea in stock that I can build 1-ounce baggies from. You can see down here that I need to add the inventory detail for the Mango Tango bulk. I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to enter INV. From here, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And once it's complete, you'll get confirmation, and you'll have successfully moved these items into stock. From there, you can go to Transactions, Manufacturing, and Build Assemblies, and create 1-ounce bags with the bulk that you have left now in stock. Once you've accessed the Unbuild assemblies, you'll be presented with an Unbuild assembly process screen. And very similar to the rest of the forms that you've been interacting with, you're going to address your location information. You're going to add the item that you want to break apart. So for here, in this instance, we're going to utilize Guaca Clock Sampler and break that out to retrieve the components from that sampler pack for resale. In this instance, we have 2 in our quantity, and we're going to break out 2 items and retrieve 2 of every baggie that is a part of it. So let's see how that looks. So in this new document, we've added our location information. We've added a quantity to build. And then we've added to the assembly box the Guaca Clock sampler here. And it's listing each of the components that is going to be removed from stock. And as you can see, it does have label and gift tag information here. This may be the only waste that you're dealing with when you're breaking apart samplers, where the rest of the items are being put back into their sellable 1-ounce baggies or whatever size item it is that's being parted. Sometimes it may be a square tin or something, an accessory, will all get placed back into stock for resale, and no additional steps are needed. So once you save that document, you'll again get your green confirmation bar, and the stock will adjust for these items out and into the stockable unit for each of the components. And that is the end of session 2.